Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Happy Thursday. I am so excited for today. And I love right before we went live, Melanie was like, it's like skydiving.
Let's go.
Still never done that.
Oh, wow. I have with a Navy SEAL. So that was like
That gives you
super
some
cool.
confidence.
Yeah. Right. All right. My name is Kristen Gutierrez. I am the host for Thursday's Confident Leadership Series. And today I am so excited to be joined by two of my friends, localization industry recruiters, business owner. I'm not going to introduce you. I'm so sorry. You're going to introduce yourselves. But I'm here today with Melanie Francis and Steve Moore. So if you are joining us live, go ahead and let us know, leave some comments. Let us know how this conversation is serving you today. We are talking about limiting beliefs. And before we get into it, Melanie, why don't you go ahead and let us know all about you?
Great. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting us. It's quite funny, actually, that it's limiting beliefs because it was actually yourself, Kristen, a year ago, who was the first person to invite me on a podcast, and I politely declined due to my limiting beliefs. So, anyway, my name is Melanie Francis. I am the founder and CEO of Global Search RC. We're one of the leading headhunting firms and consulting firms in the localization industry. So we cover Europe, North America, and LATAM. Something interesting that I like to kind of tell people about myself is I'm a native Welsh speaker. So languages have always been a passion of mine. And today is a very special day in Wales. It is Santes Dwynwen Day. Anyone heard of that?
I have not.
No, and I work with you, and I don't know what that.
So it's actually Valentine's Day in Wales. So it's quite cool if in the UK you get two Valentine's Day, which is kind of nice. But also prior to working, kind of setting up this business, I actually worked with Steve in Chicago, where I was head of global talent for a British company. And I kind of had that daunting task of helping the CEO to set up in the US and uprooting my life to Chicago.
Nice.
Not a bad place to go.
Not a bad
Yep.
place at all.
And I'm Steve Moore. I'm the recruitment partner here at Global Search. I've been in sales and recruitment for over 10 years now, since I transitioned out of serving in the United States Navy for 8 years. My last tour in the Navy was actually recruitment. And I really credit that with launching my whole career in sales, as it's really a lot of cold calling, pounding pavement, presentations, and closing. Except for not signing on the dotted line, you actually have to biometrically sign those contracts, so it's a little bit more intense. But most recently, before joining Global Search, I was a business development manager at a language service provider. So I've sold localization services, translation, interpreting, which I feel really gives me a unique perspective when speaking with candidates and clients as well. And now coming up on my first year anniversary with Global Search.
Woo, woo. I had forgotten you.
Howdy.
Yeah, I'd forgotten you worked at I'm like looking up where you used to work now in the industry. That's so awesome. So thank you both so much for being here. Let's root the conversation in a definition of limiting beliefs. I do this a lot when I coach organizations on overcoming imposter syndrome. And a quick Google search actually makes me believe it's somewhat similar. It's a state of mind you think is the absolute truth, and it stops you from doing certain things. This is one definition out of many. I guess let me ask my panelists, would you define it any other way? Because I also love the example of, yeah, I was like, Melanie, let's do a podcast together. Let's collaborate. And then you got like a rabbit hole of like 20 minutes lecture from me.
Yeah, and others in the industry where I would definitely agree. I guess the most simple kind of definition is that one's own limiting beliefs that kind of restrict you from succeeding. But it can also be other people's limiting beliefs in you. And that's something that I think is definitely a lot of like things to talk about there. So in terms of limiting beliefs, public speaking, you know, sometimes people say that it's scarier than death to some people. And, you know, I would say that you have so much negative self-talk with this limiting beliefs where you make up all these excuses in your head that aren't really real. So I was at the ALC and Rick Tanza said to me at Dynamic Language, he's like, you need to be up on stage. You've got so many things to share with the community. I was like, oh, no, I like to stay behind the computer. So you grow to help you grow your company so you can be on stage. And I was walking away. I was like, that's such a silly excuse. And then Mark Schreiner at Loquilde was like, you need to get on a podcast with me. You've got so much to talk about. And I was like, oh, no, I don't use big words like the professional podcasters do. I talk too much. And then in the end, I thought, you know what? I love Richard Branson, and my favorite book of his is Screw It, Let's Do It. So I was like, Melanie, just do it. And you know what? We ended up presenting then at the Meta office, our very first public speaking event, a careers in localization event, flying over from Wales to Seattle. And then you kind of get the bug. It's like, wow, people actually were interested in what we said and advice.
I didn't die.
Yeah.
I didn't die.
It's weird. I mean, because obviously, Kristen, you've done a lot of these events, and I don't know about you, but you kind of you got that nervous energy before going on stage, and then we were in a trance and just loving it.
Yeah. I think honestly, like, the definition, having that like kind of limiting belief in yourself that can stop you from accomplishing something. And the Meta office or the keynote is a perfect, most recent example, because I remember when Melanie and I were kind of just doing like the last minute preparation before heading over to Meta to deliver the speech. I haven't done public speaking in years, and I started getting nerves, and I'm talking with Melanie and I'm obviously getting really nervous. She's like, Steve, get it together. You got this. I also need you to keep it together to give me support. We can do this. And, you know, I think that just kind of goes to show, you know, like your leadership's belief in you can really help build up your confidence. And when you do have sometimes those limiting beliefs can get you over the hump, right? And like Melanie said, I think it really went well. And once I was up there, I felt comfortable, and it just reminded me like, okay, I got this, you know? So.
I mean, that is the thing. I think this is a really great place to start, because people do see me on stage or doing all these webinars, but like I talk a million miles a minute. Obviously, if you've seen me, when I get nervous and I sweat profusely, even this week, you guys, I'm about to do a post probably tomorrow on, I spoke this week at BYU in Hawaii.
Oh, cool.
I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't in Hawaii. I did it virtually, right? And I also spoke this week at Salesforce, which is unbelievable. Talk about a limiting belief. What could people at Salesforce possibly want to hear from me? Like what could Meta want to hear? And I know your event was at Meta with a bunch of people from a lot of other places, right? But it's still this idea that like we see other people doing these things that then we feel are impossible for us to reach.
Yeah.
But I'm writing some notes down, right? Like, screw it, let's do it. I love it. And this concept of a hype team, and, you know, you were saying, Steve, like you need leadership who believe in you. You need friends who you can text who believe in you, right? You need to create a little circle of a network that like, hey, I'm about to go on stage, or can you come to my master class and be a butt in the seat so that I feel comfortable, right? Like I think that's half the ninja strategy to like overcoming your limiting beliefs is like, so put people in your corner who are going to cheer you on.
Yeah.
It's 100% true. Because, and what I love about the Loke community is, I mean, have recruited, previously for a ton of different industries, and this is by far the most supportive. Before Meta, we attended Ingrid's presentation, which was great, at the ALC, and I kind of said, "Hey, Ingrid, any tips?" And she was amazing at the start of our meeting. I was like, "Oh, I know you haven't got a lot of time, so I'll just run through." She's like, "Chill, Mal. You're a smart girl. I've got all the time in the world." And for me, I know we were talking about a leader believing in the employee, but to have a mentor, someone you aspire to, believing in you as a leader. And I also like to learn outside the industry as well. So on the plane to Seattle, I was listening to Jordan Peterson because he's just like so mind blowing. And he was just like, you need to be authentic and be articulate, and that's it. You look at Tony Robbins, he's on stage with rave music and he's like, everybody say I. And I'm like, okay, so you can just be yourself. You don't actually need to fit a formula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just to piggyback on that, and both two things that you both said, I think like you see people doing something and you're like, that's impossible. Like I could never see myself doing that. And having good mentors. I know probably I talk about this too much, but like I've been really like the last few years getting heavily into like weightlifting and bodybuilding. And you see all these people doing bodybuilding shows, and you're like, no, there's no way I could ever like do something like that. But I've luckily have a best friend that's a retired professional bodybuilder that I've been training with for the last couple of years, and he's been really just motivating me. And now I'm committed to doing a bodybuilding show in 2025. So I have one more year of training for that, but I'm just going to go for it and do it. So having the right mentors and not ever looking at something as impossible, I think is so important as well.
Yes. But I don't want to dwell here. You had said at the beginning, Melanie, like other people's limiting beliefs on us, because I would play devil's advocate. They're only true if we believe them.
Yeah.
The problem is we hear the things and sometimes we can't unhear them, unlearn them. Sometimes we don't have the skill set to realize that your limiting beliefs of me have nothing to do with me or my capabilities. I am in control of my limiting beliefs or my capacity or my abundance. And but that's the thing. People, either on purpose or not, they share things with us that it gets wedged in our head. And this can be as simple as, what are you posting on social media? Because I'm remembering, Steve, when we were talking that, we're never sick. I mean, I have a different opinion than others, and I love that. And I live that, right? Like, my opinion of any social media platform, especially LinkedIn, is that at the end of the day, we are all humans, and we should show our human side of life. Lee Densberg today just did a "Who Am I" post. Oops, I'm freezing. Today she just did a "Who Am I" post, and she's like, everyone should do one of these posts, and it brings more about who we are to the forefront of the fact that like who we are is supporting why we're doing the work we're doing, right?
Yeah.
And you had told us some of your Navy stories.
Yeah.
People do want to hear that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point, when there are times when other people are going to have limiting beliefs in you, right? And I'm happy that you brought up the Navy, because that reminds me of when I was on my first ship, the USS Vela Gulf. I was super junior sailor. I'm like 21 years old, my first year in the Navy. But I became really passionate about firefighting, and because when you're out in the middle of the ocean, you can't call 911 for the fire department to come in and save you. So everybody needs to know how to do damage control. And so I started doing all the qualifications, and the highest qualification is damage control training team. But everybody on the ship kept telling me, like, you're too junior to get to that level of training people that are more senior than you on how to do something. I'm like, well, if I complete the qualification and I'm passionate about this, why won't you let me do it? Like, well, you have to get permission from the executive officer. So I got his sign off, finished the qualification. Then I had to sit aboard with the executive officer, command master chief, and other senior sailors in the ship. And once I passed that and got my red hat, and then I was, conducting training on firefighting, setting firefighting boundaries, and all of these different things on the ship in front of over, 100 people. And I think it's, there will be people that doubt you along the way throughout your career, but if you just stay true to what you're passionate about and you believe in yourself, then, you're all good.
It's that determination as well.
Yeah.
So I was, in preparation for this, I'm a big believer of as much as the Loke community, we can learn from each other. I always like to learn from people that don't do anything like I do. So I was speaking with my brother yesterday, who works in a hospital doing x-rays. And I was, talking to him, he completed an Ironman, which to anyone that doesn't know, is, well, for him, a 2-hour swim. He started that at 7 a.m. in the sea, and he's a weak swimmer. Then he did a 175-kilometer bike ride on the third trickiest kind of terrain in the world, and then finished off with a marathon at 9 p.m. And I'm like, dude, that is amazing. And I'm like, so, how did you kind of push forward? And he's like, Mel, because he's quite scientific, the body has a natural defense mechanism. It's there to protect you. So the negative thoughts come in to protect you. But what you need to do is kind of understand that, acknowledge it, and say, you know what, thank you. But right now, I don't think there's anything logically that's going to go wrong. So I'm going to push through with my determination. And quite sadly at the moment, he's actually going through the biggest challenge of his life. He actually was playing soccer, and he kind of sprained, something's happened with a fractured his shin, and his leg's in a full cast. And as a sporty person, he is bedbound for 2 weeks, and I can hear in his voice, I've never heard him sound so debilitated. And I think we all need to help each other out in terms of beliefs, spot when someone is doubting themselves, and then rise up. And that's something as recruiters, I feel is one of our main duties, helping candidates believe that they can achieve more. Myself and Steve have examples. If you wanted to kind of segue into candidates, Kristen, or did you want to, is something else wanted to talk about?
I mean, yeah, however this naturally flows, we have like 10 minutes left.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So something, an experience I had recently with a candidate that I'm super proud of is, he kind of came to me. He's run his own LSP. He's been a CEO there. He's been a senior leader at a corporate company. And he was like, Melanie, so I've left. I'm not quite sure what my next step is. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And I said to him, I've known you for 3 years. You will be an amazing consultant. Trust me, that is what you need to do now. So what we then did is we designed like a 1-page kind of 10 kind of questions I asked him to think about with his time off, and kind of think what value he could bring and so on. And now we were speaking at Loke World, and he secured a contract for 3 months with one of our clients. And, who knows where that can lead from there. And I know, Kristen, obviously, I feel like you kicked off the trend in the industry last year with consulting and writing a book and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess to Melanie's point, I think, supporting candidates that sometimes do have limiting beliefs in themselves can really help get them to the next step in their career. Like one candidate that I've recently worked with, it wasn't until she saw one of my job posts or responded to some outreach of mine that she had really considered the next step in her career. And, having a good look at her background and speaking with her on the phone, since, it's our job to know what good candidates look like and, the next step in their career, I was able to explain to her, like, you have this much experience, you've done this, you've accomplished that. Like, this opportunity would be X, Y, Z, for your career. And she just really had never thought about taking that next step, but providing that confidence to them that, like, yeah, I can do this. This is the next step in my career. She ended up taking, the new role. She couldn't be happier, and she's doing a phenomenal job. And I think just, sometimes candidates have limiting beliefs, and it's partly our responsibility to give, provide them with that extra little bit of confidence that what's next in their career.
I love this. And I'm sitting here thinking very transparently that I never realized, and maybe it's because you're amongst the best of the best, right? But like really good headhunters have that role with their candidates. Because something, as you know, I'm very passionate about alongside my day job is helping other people climb the corporate ladder,
Yeah.
grow beyond their role. And in my community, we talk about overcoming limiting beliefs or the imposter syndrome and cheering each other on and giving people the support they need to thrive in their role. And I'm just realizing with the two examples you both have given that you're so similar, right?
Yeah.
And I think that leaders in organizations, like they inherently good leaders, they take that role with their team, right? We all want our birds to fly and to stay in the nest, but we have to, like, even with our kids, we have to be able to let them go. And I know, like, you never want to see your best salesperson or your best leader walk out the door to pursue another opportunity, but that's kind of where then culture and a lot of other things organizationally come into play.
Yeah.
We still have a responsibility to feed into our team to make them better tomorrow than they were yesterday.
Yeah.
And I love like your guys' perspective on that as recruiters.
Yeah. Not to talk about.
Sorry,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Ah,
no.
I was just going to say
that's right.
not to talk up Mel too much, but I remember like when I first started with Global Search, like doing the training and learning, like there's a bit of a learning curve going into corporate executive recruitment. And in the first few weeks, I was just like, there's so many moving parts. There's so much organization. This is a little bit different from hunting and sales, strictly sales. So I did start to get a little bit of a limiting belief in the very beginning with that aspect of the job. But then, I like to refer to it as my baptism by fire. We were at Gala in Dublin on my third week in the job, and being around other people, networking, shaking hands, like building relationships, setting meetings with clients, I really came into my own. And Melanie picked up on that and gave me a lot of positive feedback, built up my confidence, and that really just built me up. And then I'm thinking, I'm great at this. I'm good at this. Like the organization thing, I can do this. I'll get that down. And we've just been flying ever since. So having the support from leadership, especially when you do have a little bit of your own limiting beliefs and your capabilities, can go a long way to giving you the confidence to succeed in your current position.
Yeah, because we all have them.
Yeah.
We all have the imposter syndrome, the limiting beliefs. We have these doubts that creep in. Melanie, the floor is yours. Believe it or not, we have like less than 5 minutes. So what did you want to respond to, and or what else did you want to share?
I think something else to share is one, we also do have a duty of care to clients as well, because there are smaller LSPs that, because we really focus a lot on sales leadership and growing revenue for organizations by recruiting great salespeople. But a lot of business owners that approach us don't know where to start because they are professional translators turned into business owners or production background. And obviously, Kristen, you know that sales and operations is very different, although they're both necessary. So what we also do is we kind of, instead of they come and they say, we need a salesperson, we will actually kind of scale it back and go, well, what's the kind of problem that we're trying to solve here? Just to make sure that that is actually the solution. And if we find things that we actually think, have you thought about this opportunity, that opportunity? And so we kind of help them maybe see a belief that maybe they didn't see. And a huge kind of example is someone pretty well known in the industry was like, we need an A player, but for a B player salary. And I kind of said to them, okay, you're in the US, the salaries are the highest, but if you let us recruit in emerging markets for you, such as LATAM, then I think we can find you that A player. And we're now recruiting for the third person for their organization. And then kind of my final point is when you put yourself out there, and as you say, Christine, get out of your own way. the amount of opportunities then come out of that. So we were in Meta, really nailed the presentation, and then, you know, a panel moderator and all that kind of stuff. And Renato Benedito was actually there and kind of approached me, and we were having a great chat. And I was talking about a report that we've just written. It's a huge document because I kind of spotted that there is a lack of intel about recruitment in the industry. It's evolving so quickly every quarter with all the developments. So he actually suggested that the report should be featured in Multilingual magazine this month. So that is a bit of a plug. Shameless plug, but we have spent months on this. I am not a professional report writer, but it's great. We've got a team that kind of helped us, consultants. So, you know, that would not have happened, that opportunity, had we not kind of put ourselves out there.
Yes, yes, I do. I'm so passionate about personal branding being two-pronged. One prong is this executive presence that we have to master internally and or working with other clients, etc. And the other prong being our external thought leadership and how you win a Stevie Award, how you get featured in the magazine. Why I'm going to suggest, are you coming to Juntos in March?
Yes.
Yes, we'll definitely.
Oh, you are? Okay. Yeah, I love
I'm
that.
so
Yay,
excited.
I get to see you. Okay. Yeah. So like, but you have to like put yourself out there. And I learned that working for one of the best in the industry, Anna Schlegel, when I was at NetApp. The peripheral things I learned working on the globalization team was how much she put herself out there to write the articles, to be featured in the webinars. And when you do it a lot, when you start the momentum, then it snowballs and people do come to you and ask you to keynote an event, right? Or do this, but what we don't see is the grind behind the scenes, the getting out of our own way, like you said, overcoming our limiting beliefs and saying, I have something worthwhile to share. Let me find a place to share that.
Yeah.
And it's not just the belief, it's the passion. You know, writing a report for me isn't super duper exciting. I love getting on the phone and speaking to people and finding people jobs. But it's the passion. I've got this knowledge. I want to help people. So yeah, for me, it's the passion and kind of determination if you've got this. And trust me, I've not had a lot of sleep over the past 2 weeks. It's a lot more work than I thought it'd be. That's for sure.
Well, I can't wait to read it. Listen, we have to go. We're going to end. Steve, any closing thoughts?
No. I just really appreciate you having us. You know, once we did the first public speaking event and we got invited to a podcast, I was like, oh man, here we go. Because now it's probably going to snowball like you mentioned. Yeah. But I really appreciate you having us. You know, I love your master classes. I definitely take notes on your ninja tips. So thanks for your thought leadership and your events as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Melanie, anything else?
Let's do this again soon. As you know, Kristen, we've got a few exciting events coming up this year and also personal events. So something I think that we can definitely talk about in the future.
Yay. Okay. I love it. Yes. If you're not already following Steve and Melanie on LinkedIn, connect with them. They don't bite. They're super awesome people. I'm really grateful for your time today. Way to bust out your limiting beliefs and join me on this super friendly series of confident leadership. Have a great day. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, Kristen.